Alrighty there, good evening ladies and gentlemen, and welcome in to the round 4 race over here for the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship for Season 21. My name is Tristan Herbst, joining you in the commentary box over here, and it is looking to be an absolutely fabulous day out here at Zolder in Belgium. It's been a while, guys. Unfortunately, you know, we missed out last week at Misano. I caught a little bit of a sickness there, and I wasn't able to hop on the microphone, so super sorry to those who were waiting for me to hop on the microphone and demonstrate the absolute skill that we see from all of our Pro-Am drivers. But we are back for tonight, and just quickly having a minor issue here with the camera control software. Give me a second. Does not seem like I'm able to switch cameras. We're going to quickly give a restart, and for some reason that is not connecting. Come on. This should be working. Don't know why this wouldn't be working. We are all connected and going good. Come on. Apologies about this, guys. Just trying to get the broadcast sorted over here. Give me 1 second, everyone.
Green light. Go, go, go.
Alright, there we go. We should be all good now. Let me double confirm. There we go. We're all good now. So let me just quickly get our camera angle sorted over here, and then back over to OBS and get our qualifying on the way there. Apologies about the short delay there, guys. We just had to make sure that we could actually see our amazing driver setting around track here. But like I mentioned, welcoming to round 4 of here at Zolder. And like I also mentioned just now, huge apologies for missing out on last week's race. I heard a couple of people, unexpected people, actually coming in on the podium spots. David van Veek, our new debut rookie here for Season 21 in the Pro-Am division, finishing 3rd last week. And Conrad Martin actually taking pole position last week. Mr. Conrad Martin over here, the Treehouse Works Racing McLaren driver. I did tell him to join the box after the race, but we're not too sure if he is going to join. But still, nonetheless, absolutely incredible. The virtual grandstand is going wild here for the Pro-Am division race. It's awesome to see everybody coming in. Armour saying evening, biggest, baddest, best, saying hello, supporting the PWSR team. Alan Patterson saying good luck to everybody, and unfortunately with a heavy cold, hoping for you to get well, but maybe the good racing action can actually help you. And lots and lots of support coming. Armour saying let's hear for Omnius Gaming, and everybody else is also just enjoying themselves. But like we are, like it has been for the past couple of weeks, it is already transcended to halfway through our GT3 calendar year for Season 21. It's absolutely incredible that we're already at round 4 out of round 8 here. And I mean, I can't even imagine that. It feels like time has flown so fast, but yet we're still living here in the moment. But currently, Herman Percival sits in 1st place for the number 44 Honda. And a couple of the drivers will be rocking either dark or completely black liveries just to memorize and commemorate the passing legend of Ryan Ottens. And like it's been echoed throughout the community of Raceface and other communities, one racing legend, he'll always remain here on the virtual track and the real life track. So Godspeed to Ryan Ottens. He is being memorized and commemorated here on the ground floor on the virtual sim racing side of things. And a couple of drivers are there to celebrate and memorialize him. But in any case, though, we do keep on pushing as we see a lot of other drivers. Actually, Rowan van der Volt also doing an incredible job getting himself up into 2nd position here for qualifying. That's actually an incredible feat from his side and pushes up quite nicely. Johan Verveers. Oh, big slide from a tank-slapping Mustang over there. That looks like that might have been Chris Collison. Indeed it was. Chris Collison currently sitting in the wall, decides to pull the car back in. Neil Swartz sitting with the golden 64 on his car, very special livery as well running. Currently sitting in 2nd position. He's just taken the position away from his teammate, Ron van der Volt, and pushed Johan Verveers down into 4th position. Followed by him, though, Jean de Toit, another Pandas, the Infiltrate driver. And it seems like quite a few of them are actually populating the grid here tonight for the Pro-Am division. Jean-Ray Buerta in the Team Karugma Racing Porsche 992 is holding out tight there in the top 10, currently sitting in 6th position, making his way around track. Martin Rauchenbach giving way to the Porsche driver. Behind him is one of the Treehouse Works Racing drivers, but further on behind them, Chris Collison coming out to reunite outside the pit lane. Conrad Martin, like we mentioned, in 11th position, and Anton Lammers, the other Treehouse Works Racing driver, also sitting, as well as Lawrence Badenhorst, another Treehouse Works Racing driver. Ulrich Diacher currently sitting in 14th with a 9/10 away from P1. Hansi Meyerberg sitting in 15th for the Team Tryhard Black in the... Oh, he's actually changed cars. So Hansi Meyerberg coming over into the McLaren 720S here for halfway point of the season, swapping out from the BMW. So nice little change to see from his side, and he's going to be finishing it off strong. David van Veek, our podium finisher last week at the likes of Misano, now looking to see what he can do at the likes of Zolder. We did have a bit of a chat to him before the race. He said it's going to be a challenging race for him. He's not looking too well and in shape here, and he has been struggling in the McLaren. So we'll have to see what kind of performance he can pull. Currently, Henk Peterson sitting in 17th position, and Jacques Nordier follows him in 18th position. Jason Landsberg down in 19th, followed by Alvin Preem. Further down in 20th, John Mostert also joins us on the grid for the Tyre Troopers Black McLaren. He's in 21st, and Kyle Henderson in the Zolder 22 Ferrari. And Francois Buerta down in 23rd, followed by Jonathan Chislett. And the only driver to not set a lap time yet is Rob van der Heever in the Golden Accent Ryan Otten number 64 Ferrari. But currently Herman Percival still capping it out. He's currently a hundredth of a second just beating out Neil Swartz. So we'll have to see how it goes for him. But Johan Pretorius has joined the Virtual Grand Tour, and David had a great run last race. Like we mentioned, we did have a chat with him, finishing off podium position last week. So hoping, crossing fingers and toes here that he can do the same kind of performance. I spoke to him and said we're expecting the same. Just because there wasn't a stream doesn't mean anything changes. You might be on a little bit of a limelight here tonight, but you're going to continue to push just as you normally would. So now Jean Retoit with a back mark in front of him. I believe that's Landsberg. A little bit further behind, currently just trying to chase. Sorry, no, Jason Landsberg is in the... that's actually Jonathan Chislett, just hanging on in front. And he is currently being chased down by P3, trying to find time. But currently Jean Retoit not going positive on this lap. Really getting up close behind Jonathan Chislett, just trying to get around and potentially get a good lap time in. Actually, he did manage to get a 10th up, but he did lose it, unfortunately. I don't think it's going to be improvement. It is actually, but not an improvement of note to move him up into second. Only about 3/100ths of a second faster, so he remains in third. Neil Swartz still sits in second for the Pandasny number 64, and holding on strong, but really just trying to find that ever so slight amount of 10th and 100th just to try and break into Herman Percival's stream over there. Currently a full second down on this lap, so definitely don't think it's going to be happening here. Jean-Ray Buerta currently 3/10ths up on this lap. That will definitely move him up very nicely, up into around 6th position here. So let's see. Oh, he's lost a lot of time though in the last corner, down to a 10th of an increase here. So let's see how this can change for him. He'll definitely get David van Veek. Will he get Sean Lorero though? Now absolutely no time increase. Potentially a few milliseconds. He might pass David van Veek, and he actually doesn't. So losing out completely there in the final sectors. Anton Lammers actually overtakes David van Veek, and doing an incredible job at it as well. Where did Jean-Ray Buerta go? There he is there. Sorry, I couldn't see him. So still behind David van Veek. Anton Lammers does jump in front of them though. Martin Radenbach is also currently out on a lap. Still Hansi Meyerberg 2/10ths up on his current lap as well. So 2/10ths will easily put him up towards 14th position, just ahead of Lawrence Badenhorst. So let's see what he can do now. 1/10th faster. So everybody just trying to find that time, but it's a little bit difficult here. Now I must say, for those who actually don't know me, this is my favorite track in the ACC game title. I absolutely love Zolder. I love the way the car reacts on this track. I love the curves. I love the flow of this track. And of course, last night, as most of you will know, I do race in the sprint series to give some great inside knowledge to how the track is feeling, as well to come and bring some knowledge to the grandstand members. But unfortunately, last night, my power went out at 7 o'clock. And it only came back on at 10 o'clock. So I literally, and it wasn't load shedding, it was a power failure. And so just because of that, I did unfortunately miss last night's race. It did suck, but thankfully everybody else still got to race. Jean Vivier saying, go JV48. So it's like father, like son. The son now cheering his father on. And currently, Johan Vivier's sitting in 5th position, actually. So running off top 5, not bad at all from him at all. So he's going to continue to push that. But currently, nobody on flying a better lap time over here. We'll have to see when a couple of drivers do come around, though, for their next couple of laps. We've got 27 seconds left. So around about 1 lap or so left for some of these drivers to get a better lap time in. And currently, everybody not looking good for improvement. Neil Swartz currently a 10th down. And he's actually lost out a little bit. Herman Percival breaking into the 27th. He's now a 10th and a half actually away from Herman Percival. And I don't think he's actually going to be able to catch up to him right now. So we'll have to see how that does affect later down the line. Jean Mostard currently 1/10 up on his lap time. But it is still early on days in this lap. So we'll have to see if he's going to be able to pull something through. David van Wyk 1/10 up. Now once again losing that 10th. So everywhere around track. Actually 2/10 down now after the hairpin chicane over there. So not looking too good from him. Maybe he can pull it through in the final chicane over here. Now 1/10, now flat. Was it a better exit? Unfortunately not. Gaining 1/10 slower. And that's not going to be a better lap time for him. He pulls the car over. And that is going to be P10 for him. Unless he can get overtaken by Jean Mostard. Currently a 10th up. And unfortunately, no. Never mind. A whole 1.8 seconds down now. And decides to pull the car off. Currently only Jean-Ray Buerta out on track. Not setting faster or slower at the moment. So he could be a couple of milliseconds faster here. Potentially could beat out Sean Herrero. Nah, currently a 10th down on his best lap. That's going to keep him in 8th position. So incredible stuff there from our qualifying, from all of our drivers. We're going to be back with you guys as soon as we're on the main grid. Alright then, ladies and gentlemen, and as you can see, we have got a formulated grid here for round 4 at Zolder. And this is going to really be an interesting one. We've got a packed grid like we usually do. You have 25 cars, and you've actually got a perfect shot over there of all of the cars on grid. This is actually an even better shot. Anybody in the virtual grandstand, now is your time to take a nice screenshot of every car posing for a picture on the grid. Majority of them rocking a darker livery in support of Ryan Ottens, but some of them also supporting their standard colorful liveries. But Herman Percival will start this race in first, and he's actually had quite a dominating footprint here in the Pro-Am division. He is quite fast in the Honda. I believe he's the only driver on track, on grid actually, for this season in the Honda. Loads of McLaren drivers, as you can see. We've got a whopping almost 10 McLarens here, actually outweighing the meta car of the Ferrari 296. So massive grid of here, different variations of cars, but a lot of commonalities as well with your simpler mid-engine cars. So at a track like Zolder, it has been seen that the front engines do tend to play a little bit more here compared to your mid-engines. There's a lot higher curves, specifically the first chicane that you do experience here when you start your lap at Zolder. It is a chicane with 2 massive curves that, if you take them right, can absolutely make your lap. But if you take them wrong, it can detrimentally break your lap, especially in your lower down mid-engine cars. Taking that first curb wrong can absolutely launch your car and potentially actually cause some form of suspension damage and cause you to bounce around and actually lose the car. So we saw that earlier in qualifying with Chris Collison. He's obviously in a front engine car, but he did lose control due to entering the chicane wrong. So we could be seeing a couple of incidents throughout the race here at that chicane. So keep an eye out for it. If you do see drivers going off there, don't be surprised. It is a challenging chicane if you don't take it right. But we are currently with Tim in the helicopter. Everybody getting ready now to go off on their formation lap. But let's have a quick run through our grid order. Herman Percival sits in first for the number 44 Honda, followed by Neil Swartz in the number 32 Pandacity Lamborghini, followed by Jean-Louis Dutoit in third for the Pandacity Infiltrate number 77 Lamborghini. Ron van der Walt comes around in 4th position for the number 99 McLaren. 5th, you got Johan Vivier. 6th, followed by Clara Pretorius. Sean Herrera wraps around in 7th position, followed by Jean-Ray Buerta in 8th. Anton Lammers for the Treehouse Works Racing in 9th position. David van Wyk, the debut artist over here, rocking up in the top 10. Followed by him is Chris Collison, who we were just talking about, the Stinger Racing Ford Mustang in 11th. Martin Radenbach in 12th position. And Conrad Martin, last week's race winner, who unfortunately wasn't broadcasted. Let's see if he can do the same here. Lawrence Badenhorst in 14th position, following Conrad Martin. Then Jason Landsberg in 15th position, and then Ulrich de Jager coming down into 16th position. 17th position, Henk Pieterse, and behind him is Hansi Meiberg of the RaceFace Team Triad Racing Black McLaren 720S number 526. Jaco Nordia for the KSR Force comes across in 19th, followed by Alvin Prim in 20th position, Jonathan Chislett in 21st position, and then John Mostert in 22nd position for the Tyre Troopers, Carl Henderson in 23rd for the Zolder team, Francois Bertha in 24th, and last but not least, rocking out our grid in last place is Rob van der Heever, the number 51 Ferrari. So, like we mentioned, absolutely stacked grid. It's going to get interesting. And now, in our virtual grandstand, we've got a couple more people. Samir Bjerke saying, race hard, hashtag Stiggers, podium it. And that's referring to Chris Collison. Chris Collison's teammate, actually in the Pro Division, Gerrit Bjerkes. And now he's sitting alone in Pro-Am. Both of them actually being split apart, which is quite sad to see. Lloyd Gething saying, Percival representing the 031. And Torquay76 saying, let's go UDJ number 75, Ulrich de Jager. And lots and lots of fans in here tonight for the Pro-Am division, so it's going to be an interesting one. Everybody's getting cheered on. Number 75's got some fans. We've got the Stinger Racing guys in here supporting on Chris Collison. So this is going to be an interesting one. Like we mentioned, we do have a concertina effect at almost every single racetrack. Zolder is one of those tracks where the concertina effect is not actually as powerful as many other tracks. At the first corner of Zolder, if you've driven this track, is not a dead stop turning to a corner. It is a very fast-paced left-hander where it simply just requires you to give a little bit of brakes on the car, coast the car in left, and keep on pushing it. Then it follows another slower right-hander. But like we're talking about this, let's not get ourselves caught up. Let's get ourselves onto the starting grid of here because it's going to be an action-packed one. We're actually going to stay on the helicam. Green light's being given by Jeff on the side of the road over there. Herman Percival will hold first place though. Actually launches his car a little bit too wide, and he's completely pushed out wide by Neil Swart, almost getting the overtake on lap 1, holding the inside line though, manages to not give it away just too soon. Jean de Toit is under pressure. Rowan van der Walt is now fighting with the likes of, I believe that's Sean Herrero, who's now pushed himself all the way up to 5th already from 7th position, getting a good launch. Couple of drivers having a bit of a tap. We've got a big accident towards the back of the grid. Not too sure who that is. We've got one car towards the back there. I believe that might be... Who is towards the back there? There is a couple of cars who have unfortunately been knocked down towards the back of the grid. Thankfully, everybody rejoining safely. Chris Collison currently fighting, though, with Martin Radenbach. And everybody getting a relatively okay start besides the few. There's the one that we were trying to find, is Henk Pieterse. Unfortunately, the timeline sheet begins to update as each driver rotates off. Jonathan Chislett actually even further down behind. So not having a good first lap here for Chislett and Henk Pieterse. I believe there might have been contact there at the start of the race. So super unfortunate to see that. But Herman Percival, after getting a very odd launch into the first corner, does manage to keep his control and sit comfortably in front of Neil Swart coming to the end of lap 1. So thankfully managing to patrol around track in first position. But there's a long train of cars fighting. Jean Roberta coming in. We've seen him do this before, getting that pit stop done long before the rest of the grid even has time to react to what he's doing. And that is exactly what he's going to do here once again tonight. Coming in, getting that pit stop done and dusted so you can focus on the rest of the race. It's exactly what you can see him doing now. But Sean Herrero seems like he's currently the driver putting the most amount of pressure around everybody around him. Currently pushing onto the back of Johan Verveers. Ron van der Walt did lose a position to him and will try and gain that position back. Same with Gerrit Pretorius. He did actually lose a little bit of time here. So we'll have to see how all of these guys get affected. Conrad Martin, our race winner from last week, is trying to push around, currently in 12th position. He's got Lawrence Badenhorst a little bit further behind him, his own teammate. And then John Mostert is feeling the pressure right now because Ulrich de Jager is just ever so close right behind him, pushing on ever so closely as they begin to creep up. Hunty Meiberg also fighting down in 17. Francois Bertha fighting out as well. And actually a relatively cool livery there from Francois Bertha, almost rocking like a wireframe type livery where it's black and then, you know, like white outlining each of the body parts there of the McLaren. So quite a cool livery. Definitely props to him for that. Jean Roberta down into 24th, but he does have a pit stop serve. Same with Jason Landsberg. He's come in to serve that pit stop to get it over and done with. Just trying to find Jonathan Chislett. There he is over there. Sorry, just making sure that Jonathan Chislett didn't disconnect and potentially missing out from that first lap, but trying to still pull the car around. He does have a full hour and 16 minutes, so no time to stress over here. Anything can happen in a race here, especially at a track such as Zolder, where we do mention that there are a couple of things that can happen to drivers. But a couple of drivers in. Carrot Pretorius is into the pit lane. So is Hunty Myberg, serving those first pit stops and currently pulling away. Herman Percival sitting in first position, and Neil Swartz slowly starting to lose a little bit of gap there. 9/10 away from him. Jono Detroit already 1.8 seconds away from the two race leaders. So we'll have to see how these drivers are going to overcome these gaps that are being created. But Torquay76 in our virtual grandstand saying tons of McLarens. Holy, that is indeed the correct word to lose here. From 11th all the way down to 17th, we've got a McLaren train of just McLaren cars. That just proves to you how long this train is. And actually right behind them is a train of Ferraris. 1, 2, 3, and 4 Ferrari cars chasing each other down. There's Carrot Pretorius, and quite a couple of cars here. It's a lot of same makes here. Sean Herrera is still, though, chasing down in 5th position. Really starting to get close to Johan Verveers, but Ron van der Walt is not letting him go so easily. Usually it would just be a dash off, but now not letting the Mustang go. It's a little bit of a smaller track here. Not as much gap to allow the Mustang to generate that top speed that it has the advantage with and pull away from the mid-engine runners. Like we've seen before on your smaller tracks that have a lot more corners, the mid-engine cars do stick with the bigger cars, the big front-engine V8s, and they do actually pose as a serious threat here. But as you can see, Sean Herrera finding the better track spots compared to Johan Verveers and really starting to put pressure now. Ron van der Walt, after speaking about him and giving a bit of commentator's curse, unfortunately, is dropping off a tad bit behind Sean Herrera. So a little bit further behind, but you'll see now the speed difference. Sean Herrera is going to carry into the next chicane, being the bigger Mustang, being the front engine car that can absolutely eat curbs for breakfast. Let's see how the two cars taken differently. Coming into the chicane, the heavy one we're talking about, Sean Herrera follows in, eats the first curb, and actually both drivers taking it relatively the same. I think the Mustang can take a little bit more first curb compared to the Ferrari, but like we do say, every driver does have to be careful of how they interact with that chicane, because one wrong step and you could be seeing yourself neatly tucked into a wall, having to serve a pit stop. But David van Beek currently sitting in 7th position. He has gained a couple of positions due to our early pit stoppers trying to perform the undercut, and now he just needs to stay here. This could potentially be good for him. Anton Lam is a little bit further behind him, is also still holding on as much as he can. Chris Collison, the Stinger Racing, who's got a couple of people supporting him in the grandstand, also just trying to hold out, and he's got Martin Rodenbach still leading behind, but he has generated a slight bit of a gap, so a little bit of a breathing room there for Chris Collison, and incredible stuff indeed. Toki76 saying, especially when driven by Sean, that's definitely for sure. We're talking about the Mustang pace. Sean knows how to throw this car around tracks. We've seen him before. We've called him the comeback king for season 21 because he knows how to take this car all the way to the back of the grid and then somehow still pull it back for a phenomenal race finish. So currently sitting in 5th position. This is where around about he started. He started 7th. He's gained 2 positions already and now pushing on to the back of Johan Verveers. So we'll have to see how this is going to turn out for him. Like we mentioned, super aggressive driver, but he does know what he's doing. He knows his machinery. He knows how to maintain and adapt to that beast of the Mustang. Now he just has to do it for a couple of laps over and over. He's done it for most of the season. We're at halfway mark. Will he be able to do it again? Definitely, I think so. So good to keep an eye out on him. Yaku Nordia pulls into the pit stop for the KSR Force team to get that pit stop done and dusted. David van Beek, though, like we mentioned, still sitting behind, is slowly starting to catch up, and Ron van der Walt, I believe, has overtaken, no, that's not, sorry, that's Johan Verveers. Has David van Beek overtaken Ron van der Walt? I believe, no, there's David van Beek. Sorry, apologies about that. A little bit of confusion there between the McLaren drivers. So David van Beek just pushing on to the back of Ron van der Walt, and this is soon going to become a massive battle for 4th because Johan Verveers is holding a train. He's got a dive-bombing Mustang all over the back of him. As you can see, the Mustang eating those curbs, the Ferrari losing traction and bouncing terribly over those curbs compared to the big Mustang, who absolutely demonstrates pure skill over those curbs. And now it's actually given a little bit of gap there for Ron van der Walt to make up some time there after Johan Verveers slowed down and forcing Sean Herrera to avoid contact. But Jono de Toit He's enjoying all of this going on behind him. He's generated a 2-second gap already to the drivers behind, so he doesn't have to stress about that. He can now chase down his teammate, Neil Swart, who's also trying to pull back traction on Herman Percival, who's really doing an incredible job right now. 1.9 seconds of a gap, as you can see, launching himself over that second curb. My goodness, I think we need to watch a replay of that. So here comes the Honda. Takes first curb nicely, takes second curb, absolutely jumps it. 2 wheels off the ground. That's how you should be taking it. Absolute balls to the wall there for the Honda, and showing what he is made of there up in front. That's exactly why he's leading the race now with the fastest lap. He is showing the car every single bandwidth of track limit he can take. But now Sean Herrero has lost out a lot to Johan Verveer, so he has really missed a couple of his braking points. As you can actually see it there, missing his braking points slightly for the chicane and running a tad bit wider than the car behind him, Ron van der Walt. And David van Wyk is now into this battle officially. He's now 7/10 away from Ron van der Walt, and as they begin to concertina, he's just going to get closer and closer if Sean Herrero continues to make mistakes here. The concertina effect is going to get bigger, and eventually they're going to be right on top of each other with no room left to go other than to fight each other and dive bomb. Jonathan Schutz at the number 996, currently sitting in no man's land. The last driver with 2 pit stops left to go, like we saw him in the beginning, unfortunately having a bit of an incident and forcing him down the grid, and now deciding not to get that second pit stop done, try and just maintain what he can further down on the grid. Kyle Henderson's a little bit further up in front of him in 17th, and Alvin Preem in 18th and in 16th now, actually, sorry. He's also got a long train. He has the train of McLarens that we were missing out on. He's chasing down Francois Buerta chasing down Ulrich de Jager, and Ulrich chasing down Jean Mustard. So a whole 4-train car grid over here of McLarens. Let's see how each of them take the curbs here for the chicane. So all of them take... Oh, Jean Mustard completely skipping second chicane there. That's definitely going to be a track limit for him. And now he's actually given himself the potential vulnerability of being attacked from behind from Ulrich de Jager, who's now getting really up close and personal, finding that space right behind him due to that mistake on the chicane. And as you can see now, managing to slow him down in the following chicane, building up a little bit of time here. It's a very strategic effect you can do, slowing yourself down and then pulling out extremely fast. Oh, late dive bomb actually from Francois Buerta, almost taking out his fellow competitor of Ulrich de Jager, and that almost turned bad. Let's look at that quickly again. Massively late break over there. Thankfully, a good avoidance there from Ulrich de Jager, stays on the outside line and gets back ahead. So a little bit of a breakpoint miss there. Thankfully, no contact, but that has given the potential for Alvin Preem to now attack Francois Buerta after that risky dive bomb. And now Alvin Preem, right on the back of him, will gain from slipstream and could potentially make an overtake happen here in the next couple of laps, getting closer and closer to each other. Henk Pieterse, I don't actually think we've got Henk Pieterse, unfortunately. Looks like we've lost Henk Pieterse, which is an unfortunate sight to see. We lost him about 3 laps ago, so that's really unfortunate. Obviously decided to park the car, and I believe he had an incident on lap 1 and just not finding the confidence nor the stability to keep on going, and he's decided to pull the car in for good. But currently Jean-Ray Buerta leading the pack of 1 pit stop runners left to go. We saw him pulling in very early on in this race to make sure it was done and dusted before he could even second guess or maybe think to try and stay out. He's made the pit stop happen, and now it's all down to him as to how reliable he can be for the next couple of laps. 7 laps in of racing here, still another hour and 8 minutes left to go. It's only been 12 minutes, and Zolder, relatively shorter circuit compared to your other ones. We're looking at about 128 to 130 lap times, so 1.5 minutes per lap. If someone can calculate that in the virtual grandstand, you'll get extra brownie points. 1 hour and 8 minutes. How much equivalence does that calculate to in terms of laps left? Now Sean Herrero pulling into the pit lane to serve his pit stop, obviously getting muggled around there in the top 5, just not able to catch Johan Verveers and not able to stay ahead of Ron van der Walt. Decides to pull the car in. He's going to get the cleaner air, and now it's all up. Can Ron van der Walt catch up to Johan Verveers? Can David van Wyk stay on the train and catch up to Ron van der Walt, or will Anton Lammers catch up to him and put the threat on him? It's now a battle for 4th with all of these drivers. There's a bit of a gap separating Anton Lammers and Chris Collison a little bit further behind. Martin Raudenbach is feeling the pressure though. He's got 2 Treehouse Works Racing's drivers right on the back of him, And as you can see, oh, that BMW absolutely eating those curves for breakfast and launching 2 wheels off the curb. You can see the McLarens cannot take the same line because they know that they will bounce off of the track. That's where the front engine comes into play, with it being slightly stronger here around tracks such as Zolder. But currently sitting still, Martin Rodenbach will have to keep on monitoring him for his performance. Well, did Ulrich de Jager get past? I believe he might have. So Ulrich de Jager currently sitting in 12th. Jean Mostert is now in 13th. Alvin Priem has made the overtake on Francois Bertha. So lots of changes happening here for the 4-train car battle for 12th here of the McLaren fight. And this is going to be a continuous fight. Equal machinery. It's all down to setups and driver skill as to what differentiates these drivers here at Zolder. So incredible stuff here, but we're going to continue pursuing on our track here. Remember, this is round 4 of the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship for season 21, halfway through, and it's already been an absolute phenomenal season. I mean, we've had a phenomenal season to start with, guys. We started off strong with some really good tracks lining up with good bangs. We've had Misano, we've had Monza, we've had a good amount of races happening here, and currently it is going to continue to go on. But let's have a look. Just trying to quickly find this for all of you. I believe I found it. There we go. Just trying to find it over here to see where we're heading to next round. We're at Zolder. Oh, next round is an interesting one. A very nice circuit for some. Could be a potential threat to others. Next week we head to Nürburgring. Quite a phenomenal circuit if you ask me. Gotta love the Nürburgring. Nothing wrong with the Nürburgring at all. One of the most notorious circuits here in ACC. That's definitely going to be a good one to watch. And then we head to Circuit of the Americas after that in Austin, Texas. So that's also a really good track. Actually haven't driven that track myself in ACC, so we'll have to get some laps in there to make sure we know exactly what we're speaking about. But still, right now we're in the Belgium city. We're in Belgium over here, and we are still pursuing around track to chase down all these drivers around Zolder. Currently an hour and 4 minutes left to go before the end of our race, and it is ramping up to be an absolutely incredible one. Currently Herman Percival still sitting in first for the Honda NSX Evo 2019 car, the number 44 pursuing around track, and he's still followed by Jean-René Toit in second for the Pandasti Infiltrate number 77. And Neil Swart still trying to chase down his teammate. It's not looking too good right now, as there is quite a gap. Actually, no, there's not quite a gap. They've really started to pull up right onto the back of each other. Currently 9/10 separating both of them, and 3.5 seconds separating him and Johan Verveers further down in 4th position. But Johan is feeling it. He's got more Pandacity drivers behind him of Ron van der Walt. And then David van Beek is also just trying to keep up with the pack. You can see the 3 of them absolutely snailing. This is the battle for 4th, like we mentioned earlier, and this is going to continue to push on for the entire length of this night. So stay tuned. You do not want to go anywhere, because these drivers are giving us an absolute one heck of a race to watch here for the RaceFace.Pro ACC GT3 Championship for season 21. Incredible one. Absolutely incredible. But still chasing down is loads of our drivers rocking around track. Alvin Priem is still in this battle technically. He does now have Jean Mostert and the likes of Francois Bertha behind him, after Francois decided to make quite a risky dive bomb, losing out majorly, and that just made himself completely vulnerable to an attack from from the likes of Alvin Priem. And then Jean Mostert also just capitalizing on him as well. So Francois Bertha in the Plugskade V2 car, just trying to make whatever he can work right now. An hour and 3 minutes left. There's still loads of time here for drivers to think about what they need to do before we hit the end of this race. Currently, Jean-Ray Bertha still further down, leading the pack for the cars with 1 pit stop left to go, the undercutting strategy. He does have Carrot Pretorius behind, who currently holds the fastest lap time of the race, chasing him down. And Sean Loureiro further down is also, like we know, one of the most aggressive drivers here in the Pro-Am division. The Comeback King is trying to lurk up to the back of these guys, and this might start to become an interesting battle here. The battle for 18th as we creep up towards the end of this race. But Herman Percival is still absolutely coasting it out in the front, with Jean-René Toit following him. Still 2.6 second gap. Now 1.2 between him and his teammate Neil Swart. I believe, did they swap positions, or did Neil Swart... Actually, not sure about that one. I'm not too sure if I mentioned it last lap already that Jean-René Toit was in second. or if it was Neil Swartz in second. But either way, it might just be team strategy, letting one of the other drivers try and catch up to Herman Percival in front, who is absolutely destroying the grid right now. A good 2.6 seconds gap from the Honda driver. So he's going to try and bring home another podium. We witnessed his podium at Monza, I believe, and now bringing it home for the second time here for the season 21 racing. And this could potentially be another one on the books for him. Anton Lammers, though, still sitting in 7th position. Chris Collison behind him in 8th position. And let's have a look at our track map quickly to see where our main action areas are. So you can see the number 44 car there, Herman Percival. That's our race leader. There's currently a battle with the number 99, Ron van der Walt. He actually doesn't have too much of a battle. There's actually not too much of a battle going on around the track right now for most of our drivers, as everybody relatively evenly spaced out. Number 7 is fighting hard. That's Jean Mostert and Francois Bertha, but they've been fighting hard for quite a numerous amount of laps now. So potentially we could see an overtake here. Will Francois Bertha perform another dive bomb? He's looking up on the inside line, but next corner is actually the opposite side. So now flicking on behind the likes of Jean Mostert, who will get over the curves easier. Both of them taking it relatively easier. It does look like Francois Bertha has gotten a little bit of a better exit here, and he is starting to creep up behind the likes of Jan Mostert. This could potentially be an overtake into the next chicane. Oh, better speed actually for Francois Bertha, getting the rotation down in that McLaren. And actually almost Jan Mostert could have lost the car there. Went quite wide and almost touched the grass. We could be seeing an overtake soon. Will it happen here at the chicane? Will Francois Bertha do the same move? Unfortunately not. Keeps the car in place and decides not to risk it. Carl Henderson is also going to begin to catch up here, just behind Francois Bertha now, 2.2 seconds. And if Francois Bertha and Jean Mostert keep on fighting each other, it's definitely going to give room for Carl Henderson to peep his head in there and join that fight. But Alvin Prim has really started to pull headway now from that fight. Ulrich Diacha has completely disbanded the fight, down all the way up into 12th position now, almost a 6.5 second gap there. Currently 6.316 seconds between him and Alvin Prim. And Jonathan Chislett is into the pit lane to serve his first pit stop of the race. As you can see there goes the likes of Sean Herrero, and he's already a pit down from Sean Herrero, already passing him. Same with Jason Landsberg, who just passed him. So really rough race so far for Jonathan Chislett. He's already falling off behind the cars who are one pit stop ahead of him. So he's not going to be happy about that one. But we'll have to see how it does happen for the next couple of laps here. Johan Verveers is now feeling pressure. David van Wyk has started putting more and more pressure because Ron van der Walt has made it past the likes of Johan Verveers. So now it's David van Wyk's turn to potentially put pressure on the Ferrari driver. We saw his son cheering him in the virtual grandstand earlier, but now he's all alone on track, and he's got a McLaren, actually 2 McLarens, right behind him, trying to find a way around. So can he defend, or will he have to concede due to just too much aggressive driving going on behind him? We'll have to see how it all turns out for these drivers. But currently David van Wyk holding out in front, just getting ever so closer to the likes of Johan Verveers. We could be potentially seeing an overtake in the next upcoming laps. So keep an eye out for that fight. Ron van Walt, though, is still sitting nicely, like we mentioned, in 4th. Fastest lap of the session now. So he's really started to put the foot down. 1:28.3 as his fastest. As you can see there, in front of him is the likes of Jonathan Chislett, who is now a lap behind already, getting chased down by Ron van der Walt. So super unfortunate there for that driver, who now has to concede position to Ron van der Walt in the next coming corners in order to obey blue flag territory. Francois Bertha, though, has now lost out from Jean Mostert, who's actually really started to put pressure on, and Carl Henderson is now closing up on Jean Mostert. So this could be an overtake, the battle for 15th, and he's left Francois Bertha alone for the remaining laps. Sean Herrera, though, still pushing on as strong as he possibly can, and currently sitting in 18th position, but he does have one full pit stop complete. So the rest of the drivers, all the way from 1st down to 16th, needing to complete a second pit stop. They only need to complete 1 pit stop. So everybody needs to complete 2. He just needs to complete 1. Same with John Roberta, and everybody following down to Jonathan Chislett. Oh, the Alf board has been taken out, unfortunately. And I think we could potentially be seeing some drive-through penalties being administered in the next coming laps. Drivers are really pushing their cars to the absolute limit to try and find every second they can to remain faster than their competitors. We've seen it already with some other drivers also pushing their car to the line and getting a little bit off track, I would say. From the bird's eye view here, we can definitely see what's going on between them, and this could potentially lead to more battles. We've been with Tim and Helicam for quite a while now, so let's break off onto the ground here to get a bit more action. This could be an overtake though, as here comes Carrot Pretorius all over the back of Sean Loureiro, putting loads of pressure, the number 72 Ferrari. Oh, Sean Loureiro going off the grass, actually concedes position there to not cause an incident and gives the position to Carrot Pretorius and moves up into 18th position. Sean Loureiro moves down to 19th. So unfortunate one for him there. He's going to have to try and find that position back, or else he won't be chasing that down. I believe the likes of Carrot Pretorius might actually start to run away from him if he's not careful. So don't try and give too much gap there, Sean. Try and catch up as much as you can. Johan de Beers, though, still sitting in 5th. Where's David van Veek? He is still behind, but he's not catching up as much as he would like to. And now Anton Lammers is seeing the threat that lies ahead of him, and he's actually detecting a vulnerability here, because David van Veek, trying to push so much to catch Johan de Beers, is starting to slow down every single lap. Now right onto the back of him, we could be seeing an overtake here. The battle for 6. Oh, and there's Jonathan Chislett, unfortunately off track. So let's flash back 30 seconds here. What happens to Jonathan Chislett? Coming down the main straight, I can already tell you now exactly what's going to happen here. Braking late into turn 1, just missing the chicane, running wide after the chicane, and oh, actually he didn't. He caught the car and touched, oh, that's super unfortunate, touched the grass while trying to turn the car and just lost complete control. Thankfully, standing dead still holds the brakes like he should, and reversing out of the track to try and turn his car back on. Come on, do not give up, Jonathan. Keep on pushing until the end of the race, and we witness him absolutely mounting the curb there in the first chicane. So incredible stuff to see drivers continuously pushing around. He's having a bit of a hard day, but that does not give him the excuse to drop out. He's already practiced, he's put in the time, he's put in the reservation to be here tonight. There's no point in giving up now. That you should stay here and continuously push all the way up until the end, until that checkered flag is displayed. Then can you go off the rig, okay? No excuses, boys. No excuses at all. It's something we've been taught by Stephen Koenig. It's something that will forever be lived out here through RaceFace. You have to finish your races. There's no point in not finishing your races, and that's exactly what we're going to see here. Everybody's still pursuing around track, though. Anton Lammers in 6th position, and Chris Collison followed by him in 7th. We'll be back right now, ladies and gentlemen. Just going to quickly go grab a bit more water, and then we'll be back for the absolute tremendous racing action. Alright then, ladies and gentlemen, and we are back for all the action. And it seems I've caught somebody red-handed. David van Veek thought he could get the pit stop in without me noticing while I was away. But a stop-go 30-second penalty, David van Veek. That is super unfortunate. I see he's only got one pit stop left, meaning he came out of the pit lane for his first pit stop to be done. And unfortunately released that pit limiter just a little bit too early. So stop-go 30-second penalty. And that has severely impacted his chances of finishing well for this race. Super unfortunate for him. Got to keep pushing though. Do not get that car put in the garage. You've got to make it all the way up into the checkered flag. Herman Percival though, sitting in first position currently. Still sitting quite comfortably. 3.5 seconds gap now. Built up to Jean-Marie Latoy to sitting in second position. Followed by him is Ron van der Walt, but we'll wait for our midpoint in order to call out our current driver standings. But Jonathan Chisholm also still pulling around strong around track here in the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo 2. Actually one of my favorite cars in this game, also just due to how it performs. It's an incredible game. It's an incredible car. It's a very, very cool looking car, I must say. Very, very geometric, very, you know, wings, very flappy kind of car. Very aggressive looking, that's the word I'm looking for. Sorry, not flappy. I sound like I'm trying to say Flappy Birds and all these weird things. But no, very aggressive looking car. And when you drive it right, it can be an absolute beast on track. But currently under pressure from the number 17, that's David van Veek, who has lost out from his stop-go penalty and now trying to push on the back. This could be an overtake. Let's hope it's a clean overtake. Coming through the chicane, as you can see them both ramping around track. Who will come out victorious here? David van Veek looking around to try and see where he could make an overtake stick. But just nowhere to be found as of yet. He's going to have to sit behind the Lamborghini until he can find a gap. You can see putting immense amount of pressure on the rear, trying to find a way around without detrimentally affecting the driver ahead of him. This is the whole point of GT3 racing, where it can get difficult, especially on your smaller, narrower circuits, where you have to make positions count. And oh, he gets the door closed on him, and very unfortunate there. Let's have a look quickly from a bird's eye view stewarding perspective here. The dive comes in quite late, not wheel to wheel, and Jonathan Chisholm not seeing the dive come in from David van Veek. Fortunately, no spin around there, but he does get a bit of a clobber on the front, and it does force him to get a little bit messed around there on the front side, and losing the car a little bit. But thankfully, no off-grid or no off-track there, like we should say. But incredible performance nonetheless. Ron van der Walt currently sitting in third position for the Pandasli Rangers, the Pandasli Otten 64 car. Currently holding the fastest lap of the track, of the night actually. Neil Swart sitting in fourth position, and Johan Verveers has really started to get a bit of a breathe in, because he's lost all the pressure from behind. He was feeling pressure from Sean Loureiro. He was feeling pressure from David van Veek. He was feeling pressure from Ron van der Walt. This guy's been feeling pressure from every single person. And now, fortunately, in a bit of clean air, he does have Anton Lammers a little bit further behind, about 2.7 seconds. But for now, not much of a threat. Chris Collison also still ramping it around track, trying to chase down on the likes of Anton Lammers, and Martin Rodenbach is also just trying to make as much as he can of this race before it comes to the end. And currently holding off in 8th position, Conrad Martin, our race winner from last week, is trying to find the traction in order to pull himself up towards the top 3 again and manage his way through the pack. We'll have to see how it's going to land up for him. Lawrence Badenhorst, though, in 10th, also still patrolling around track very nicely. Rob van Heerden, our driver who started last, currently sitting in 22nd position, so not bad at all. Still on the same lap as every other driver. The only 2 drivers who aren't on the same lap as him is the likes of David van Veek and Jonathan Chisholm, and then a couple of drivers up ahead who are already on lap 21, being our front runners. Herman Percival also still just incredible performance that he's demonstrating in that Honda. Like we mentioned in previous races, the Honda is not a car that everybody can just climb in, load a setup, and immediately just feel comfortable and find pace in. Like we mentioned as well, it is one of the fastest accelerating cars in ACC. It's got great acceleration, but it is a very tricky car to balance. The brakes are different. It's very similar to how a Porsche brakes with the rear engine. It's very odd when braking. You cannot slam the brakes and rotate it like a front engine car. You have to be very intricate and you have to be very detailed with how you drive this car. So Herman Percival demonstrating immense amounts of skill right now on the Honda NSX. Just showing that old cars definitely still can race. There is obviously quite a big BOP currently applied to the likes of Herman Percival's car. And I believe the BOP, as you can see over there on screen, might actually not bad at all for this track. So currently -4 BOP for the Honda NSX. The Lamborghinis have a +3 kg and the McLarens have a +5 kg. The Ford Mustangs have a +21 kilogram BOP, balance of performance. That is incredibly huge. So like we mentioned, just showing the absolute domination coming from the front engine cars. The BMW, 13 kilograms of front weight added to that car. And as you can see, for the mid-engine cars, there isn't really too much weight change. The AMR V8 Vantage actually getting 16 kilograms off, which is quite odd coming from a front-engine car. That is the car of, I believe, Jason Landsberg. So a little bit weird, actually. So the Aston carrying 16 kgs less than some of its other competitors. And compared to its other front-engine races, like the Mustang carrying 21 extra, and the Aston carrying 16 less. It's almost 40 kilograms of difference between the two cars, which is quite a lot of difference around the track over here. So, very interesting thing to note. We are about to hit our halfway mark in 55 seconds. Then we'll run through our grid standing and officially be in sprint race territory with 45 minutes left of racing. So far, it's been an absolutely incredible race. Everybody has really put the pressure on each other. Jonathan Chislett now the only driver with no pit stops left to go. He doesn't have to pull in anymore. He just has to keep the car out and strong as long as he possibly can. David van Wyk will still have to do a pit stop, but he's already overtaken Jonathan Chislett. Rob van der Heever also up into 22nd, and he is quite far ahead now of some of the other drivers behind him. So he's just have to hold on to that one. He is going to be trying to chase down Hunty Myberg in front. There is quite a bit of a gap between them currently. 3.6 seconds of a gap between Myberg and van der Heever. So we could potentially be seeing a fight coming from them if they begin to close the gap on each other. But that is only if we do see that. That might potentially come, it might not come. We'll see how it all ages. But now officially in sprint race territory with under 45 minutes left of racing. There's loads of action going on over here. Carl Henderson, Cara Pretorius, Jan Mostert, all of them chasing each other down, trying to find gap. Loads of damage on that Ferrari, actually. Carl Henderson has been in the walls galore this race. We'll move over to our grid standing in just a few, but there's quite a lot of action going. Cara Pretorius makes the move up on the inside. Carl Henderson has got loads of damage in his Ferrari. You can visually see it, and you can also see the way he's driving. He's not comfortable right now, and he's making a lot of mistakes and overshoots in that Ferrari. So lots of grid changes coming in. Still 45 minutes left to go though. Loads of time for you to change your current standing. Oh, massive jump there for Carl Henderson. And just missing that curb completely. Let's see what happened there. So coming into turn 1, completely avoids turn 1 and cannot get the car to rotate. Has to just mount the curb and slow himself down to avoid any further penalties. So super unfortunate there. He is going to lose out to his competitors in front. And now you'll feel the pressure from Sean Lerera. But without further ado, let's go through our current grid order. Herman Percival, the number 44 Honda, wraps around in first position with a 4-second gap to Ron van der Walt, the Pandasty Otten 64. Number 99 McLaren in second. Gianni de Toy for the Pandasty Infiltrate, the number 77 Lamborghini in third, followed by Neil Swartz, the Pandasty number 64 32 Lamborghini in fourth position, followed by Johan Verveers, the number 48 Ferrari 296 in fifth. Chris Collison, the number 222 Stinger Racing number 6. He's in sixth position, sorry. And followed by Martin Rodenbach, the black number 465 BMW in seventh, followed by Conrad Martin, the Treehouse Works Racing number 163 McLaren in eighth position. Lawrence Badenhorst, the Treehouse Works Racing's number 28 McLaren, currently sitting in 9th. Alvin Priem moves up to 10th for the Team Tryhard Racing number 52 McLaren. Anton Lammers comes out of the pit lane. He's in 21st. We'll move over to our next driver, and I believe that is going to be Lawrence Badenhorst. And Lawrence Badenhorst, number 28. I believe we might have mentioned him, unfortunately. We did, because we mentioned Alvin Priem. Oh, there was a spun car there, actually. Not too sure who that was, but it's Alvin Priem. And then it's Karen Pretorius, the number 72 Black 64 Ferrari 296 in 11th. Jean Mostard, the number 7 Tyre Troopers McLaren in 12th, followed by Sean Herrero, the GSRT number 23 Ford Mustang in 13th. Carl Henderson, the Zolder number 15 Ferrari 296 in 14th, Jason Landsberg, the charity car, number 619 in 15th position. Francois Buerta, the Plugskade V2, number 111 McLaren in 16th position. Jaco Nordia, the KSR Force, number 38 McLaren in 17th. Ulrich de Jager comes out the pit lane in 18th. The number 75 Ryan Ottens, McLaren, number 18 position. Antti Meiberg, the number 526 Team Tryhard Black McLaren 720S, followed by Rob van der Heever in 20th. The number 51 Ferrari 296, Ryan Ottens colored as well, and Henk Petersen. Just wanting to confirm something to make sure we're all good. We are indeed all good. Apologies about that, everyone. Rob van der Heever, the number 51, Ryan Ottens in 18th. Like we mentioned, Ulrich de Jager comes out. He's actually going back into the pit lane now. Like we've already mentioned him before. Henk Petersen is no longer with us. Anton Lammers also further down. And Jean-Ray Buerta, the number 22, he's in 22nd. Sorry, the number 153, Team Karugma Racing Porsche. And David van Beek, who's unfortunately pulled the car in, it seems. Or he's serving his final pit stop. Let's hope it's a final pit stop. But David van Beek, the number 17 McLaren in 23rd. And Jonathan Chislett, the number 996 Lamborghini in 24th position, wraps up our huge grid standing. Thankfully, David van Beek getting out of that pit box to serve his final pit stop. So it wasn't a DNF. Thankfully, still pulling the car out and keep on pressing on. Oh, and there's a stop-go 30-second penalty for Jaco Nordia, down in 21st position. That is super unfortunate. Tried to serve his final pit stop, get ahead of the grid, and decided, let's try and get faster out. Disabled the pit speed limiter just a little bit too early, and got himself a stop-go 30-second penalty. That is super unfortunate to see, but it does happen in the world of racing. We've seen it earlier today already with David van Beek. And actually surprised we haven't seen more people getting... Oh, big tank slapper there. I believe that is actually Jaco Nordia. Is that Jaco Nordia? Indeed it is. Unfortunately, getting it all mixed up in the chicane. Just too much speed over the first bump, the first curb. And almost just losing it on the second curb. And just narrowly avoiding the wall. Keeping the car still on track. But we'll have to now nurse that back, nursing the tires back to standard temperature before he tries to do anything too aggressive. But he will have to anyways pull the car in and stop it for a full 30 seconds before he's allowed to continue this race and finish it off without any complications of penalties. Alvin Prim comes in to serve his first pit stop of this race. So playing the late game here, the overcut strategy. Another stop-go 30-second penalty. That's for Chris Collison, coming out to serve his final pit stop, and he gets himself a stop-go as well. So incredibly unfortunate here for some of these drivers. That's two stop-go penalties in the span of 2 minutes for the Mustang and the McLaren driver. Super unfortunate there for the Stinger Racing's number 222, and he's going to have to go back into the pit lane, serve that penalty, and stop for a full 30 seconds. The most annoying and heart-deafening and saddening penalty you can get in this game, because you witness every single one of the people that you're racing, you witness them go straight past you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do but watch them glide past, and you're gonna have to get back out on track and try and catch up after sitting for a full 30 seconds. And on a track like Zolder, that is a full quarter of your lap wasted standing still. Now, also to add on top of that is your pit window actual time. The time to slow the car down, enable your speed limiter, taxi all the way to your pit box, do your 30-second time penalty, and then still taxi all the way out of the pit window. It goes on for quite a long time. It can go on for almost a minute long, depending on how you take it and depending on how long it takes for you to actually stop your car's engine. There we go, Chris. We don't want to speed into the pit lane there. And almost potentially... Oh, another thing to mention. Just because obviously you're seeing the stop go as the people come out of the pit lane, you can also get a stop go from speeding into the pit lane. You just only get the stop go when you come out of the pit lane. So that could be potentially happening to most of our drivers here tonight. It might not be releasing the pit limiter. It might be the issue with enabling the pit limiter and actually just launching the car a little bit too quickly into the pit box. And oh, Neil Swartz gets a stop-go 30-second penalty while coming out of the pit lane. So again, could have either been from speeding into the pit lane or speeding out of the pit lane. But either one of the two, that is Neil Swartz's chances of finishing in the top 10 absolutely shattered. There are so many drivers. That's now 3 cars we've seen in the span of 5 minutes getting stop-go 30-second penalties. One of the worst penalties you can get in the game here of Assetto Corsa Competizione. And it really does set you back completely so far. We've just spoken about the time structure and how much time you actually waste in a stop-go 30-second penalty. Even though it says 30, there's a lot more allegations around actually getting into your box. And that is really going to negatively affect Neil Swartz's chance of putting any form of performance here. This is definitely going to be outside of the top 10 finish for him. Not something he'd be expecting or wanting. Neil Swartz fighting for championship points over here, now suffering from a poor result at Zolder, unless something can happen in the next 36 minutes. But super unfortunate for him. Like we mentioned before in previous rounds, there is no more pit window, so drivers no longer have the mandatory complication of getting that pit stop done 10 minutes before the race is done and only being able to pit 10 minutes after the race has started. This was obviously changed because lots of the drivers actually were struggling when turn 1 incidents do happen. We know it happens in racing, and then with the pit window only coming in after 10 minutes, drivers would have to serve a full pit stop, get their car repaired, and it wouldn't even count to their mandatory pit stops. They'd still have to do 2 full pit stops before the end of the race, or else they'd be disqualified, or worse, even earning a 160-second to 130-second long penalty for not serving their mandatory pit stops. So RaceFace admins decided to change that and make it that there is no pit window at all, not one in the front, not one in the back. So drivers in the span of the hour and 20 minutes can take their pit stops anytime they want to in that hour and 20 minutes. That's why we saw it happening for Jean-René Buerta. Like we mentioned him, he's currently in 13th, was the first driver after lap 1 to pull the car into the box and actually get his first pit stop done and underway, to perform an undercut strategy and get a little bit more clean air compared to other drivers. Oh, that was a crash coming out of the pit lane. I believe that might have been Neil Swartz. No, here comes Neil Swartz. There was a crash coming out of the pit lane. That looked like the number 72. Let's go back 30 seconds here quickly. There was definitely an incident coming out of the pit lane. We saw it in the rear view camera over there. So here comes Carrot Pretorius pulling out of the pit lane. Does he stay within the lines or does he go outside? Stays just within the lines. Oh, and just not given the space by the driver surrounding him. I believe that was the incident was with the number 52, and that's Alvin Prim. So unfortunately, just the two of them getting a bit of a bats and bruising, and just after coming out of the pit lane, now once again Carrot Pretorius, a whole side body worth of damage on that Ferrari. So super unlucky for him. He's not going to be happy about that one. He does thankfully not have too much time left to go before the end of this race, but he definitely will have a few words after the race for not giving space to a driver exiting the pit lane. Unfortunately, Zolder's not a pit lane where it's clear to see when a driver's exiting. It's a pit lane that exits right on a rotating corner and a relatively fast speed corner, so sometimes drivers do unfortunately get a little bit argy-bargy with each other, and it does lead to some penalties and some hits and hots. But currently, Alvin Prim into the pit lane to serve his final pit stop after that contact now with the likes of Carrot Pretorius has decided to pull the McLaren in and get that final pit stop done and dusted. 32 minutes left of racing, and it seems like most are actually getting these pit stops done relatively early. Kyle Henderson, Francois Buerta, both of them still one pit stop left to go, and they are down in the bottom 20, so they'll definitely be losing out quite a lot. But Ron van der Walt, who sits in first, okay, I was wondering where Herman Percival was, but there's Herman Percival. No more pit stops left to go for him. So he's got a long train of cars just in front of him, and look who's behind Herman Percival. It is Jean-René Buerta. So Jean-René Buerta, who pitted first, is now behind the provisional pole sitter of this race. Could this be one of the best undercuts we've seen up into second position? We can only wait and see to see when everybody comes out of the pit lanes. There is a relatively, not too much of a gap, 2.8 seconds of a gap between him and Herman Percival. That does give leeway to someone to come out in between them. But if he does manage to close up this gap, this could potentially be provisional second place for Jean Roberta, chasing down the previous race leader, Herman Percival, now setting the fastest lap time of the race. Was that a sub 28? Unfortunately not. 1:28.235, still an incredibly fast pit stop, and just after coming out on a fresh set and now chasing down all the drivers in front. Conrad Martin still sitting with one pit stop left to go. Same with Ron van der Walt. Jean-Ro de Toit. Hansi Meiberg is sitting in third right now with one pit stop left to go. He's all the way up in the podium positions. If only he could just not have a pit stop, that would be incredible. Sitting up in third, that would be an absolute dream come true for him. But Anton Lumber is currently sitting in fourth position, followed by Martin Rautenbach, who's a little bit further behind, just on the backside of the crescent, which you can see his BMW just about now. There he is there. And then Conrad Martin follows him, followed by the likes of Herman Percival. So Conrad Martin, last driver of the top 6 who needs to get that pit stop served. Hansi Meiberg comes in though to get that pit stop served. He is going to drop back quite a lot of positions here. So we'll have to see where he does indeed land up after that final pit stop has been served. Franz Roberta also still for the Plugskara V2 down in 16th position. And Carl Henderson in 18th position. So a little bit of a weird thing here because they were right next to each other. Now they've got a bit of a gap built up between them. But looks like they're slowly starting to pull back together now. Might have just been a bit of a HUD UI change. But all seems to be good. So like we mentioned, here comes Hansi Meiberg down to 8th. This could be a potential long pit stop for him. I think his pit stop was a splash and dash, because it does look like he's sitting in his pit box for a lot longer than 5 seconds. He's already down to 10th. There he comes out of his pit box now, rolling, trying to get the car on. Not turning on like he wants it to. And will come out just around 11th or 12th. There's currently a car also sitting in the pit lane. That's David van Wyk, like we mentioned, who did, unfortunately, now he's pulled the car in. For some reason, there's no reason to pull the car in, David. Get the car right back out there, because you've done all your mandatory. There's no point in being in the pit lane. But that's already 3 laps ago for David van Wyk. So unfortunately putting the car in, and that seems to be a DNF for the McLaren driver. So I'm really unfortunate to see. Sometimes it does happen, but next time we cannot be letting that kind of stuff happen. We have to let these drivers get to the checkered flag and finish off the race that they signed up to start. But currently Ron van der Walt holds off P1, but he does have one mandatory pit stop to go. So does his teammate, and so does Anton Lammers and Martin Rautenbach and Conrad Martin, who's being chased down now by Herman Percival. But there is quite a big gap between them, because Herman Percival obviously has already completed his pit stop. He's now pulling a massive gap between him and Jean Roberta. It was 2.6 seconds about 2 laps ago. It's now already 3.6 seconds. So gaining about half a second a lap here from the likes of Jean Roberta is Herman Percival. He's really putting the pressure now in that car. 128.2 as his fastest, 128.9 as his last, and the likes of Jean Roberta 129 flat as his last. So that was his fastest as well. So Jean Roberta has been setting slower lap times all around, unfortunately. So will he be able to keep up, or will he unfortunately drop off? That's something that we'll have to watch and see as we get towards the end of this race. But we are looking good so far. Everybody else though is still managing to get around track relatively well and with ease, and it has so far been an absolutely incredible race. But now with only 25 minutes left of racing to go, it is so far looking to be quite of a challenging race for some and quite a easy race for others. Like we mentioned, Herman Percival is starting to catch up to everybody in front of him, and he's got no pit stops left to go. So the biggest thing for now is going to be, when will the top 5 get that pit stop in, and when will they begin to be caught? Why is his windshield wiper on? That's a bit odd. So Herman Percival trying to wipe off some dirt there that he's got on the windshield, as you can see there. It would be cool if the GT3 cars could spray some water, because I won't lie, they do sometimes get a little bit stuck with dirt on the front windshield, especially if you do drive inside car cam. But currently still Herman Percival sitting in the 6th position. Gianni Buerta is behind him, but Gerrit Pretorius is closing up that gap. Gerrit Pretorius also pulled the undercut strategy, and he is someone with an immense amount of pace that we've seen throughout the past season as well as last season. But Sean Loureiro is not that far off from Gerrit Pretorius. He is a little bit further behind, 7 seconds, but not an extremely detrimental amount of pace away. So this could potentially be a catch-up session here for Sean Loureiro on Gerrit Pretorius, as well as Gianni Buerta sitting in 7th position. So coming down with 24 minutes left of racing, it's all going to come down to when the top 5 decide to pull the car in. Let's have a bit of a look at our track map to see if we can see any combat zones currently going on. Our race leader is fighting with his teammate at the moment. That's Ron van der Velde, and the likes of... That's not his teammate, apologies. That is Rob van der Heever. So that's not a battle currently going on between the two. There is a slight train forming with the number 44 car. That's Herman Percival and the likes of number 111 car. That's also not fighting with him though. So everybody quite scattered around the track right now. The number 48 car is fighting with the number 75 car, and this is indeed for position. So this is between Ulrich de Jager and Johan Verveers in 11th and 12th position. So this could potentially be an overtake coming in towards our final couple of minutes here of this race. Keep an eye out for this fight, because it could turn very, very wrong, or it could be a phenomenal fight. Number 149 is also fighting. That's Anton Lammers, but he's currently in a bit of a swarm pack with the number 465. That's Martin Radenbach, and they're also fighting each other. But just a bit further behind them is Conrad Martin. He's not fighting. That number 7 car is, I believe, the likes of Jean Mustard, who is trying to keep up with the rest of the pack. And Jean Mustard, as you can see over there, a little bit further behind the number 465 and the number 149. Not directly fighting with them though, so not too much pressure on him. Down in 18th position, chasing down drivers currently fighting for 4th and 3rd, just a bit in front of him. So he definitely doesn't want to get too involved in that fight. If he's faster, he's of course allowed to fight, because back markers are definitely still a part of this race. But that all comes down to how he can race for the next 22 minutes of racing here. Conrad Martin, and there has actually been someone who's come into the pit lane. I didn't see who it was though, because... Oh no, it hasn't, sorry. We were 1 position down. Oh, that's someone actually off the track there, who's sitting on the side of the road, coming off on Main Straight. Not too sure who that was. That looks like Alvin Preem. Is that Alvin? No, that's not Alvin. Is that John? That's not John. There was an accident listed for the 23, which is Sean Loureiro, as well as the number 38. Number 38 being Yaku Nordia, who I believe is indeed a McLaren. So there was a bit of a love tap between the two over here. Jason Landsberg is also pushing on. So there's currently a fight between Sean Loureiro and Jason Landsberg, but they do have Yaku Nordia down in 21st in between them. You can see the marshals waving the blue flag, telling him that he is currently in a bit of a situation here, and actually almost losing the back end there of the McLaren, just trying to push and stay ahead. But he might have to concede now after that position, after that move he performed. And yep, indeed he is. Nordia pulls in on the inside line, allowing the likes of Landsberg to get past and continue to push on and fight for position with Sean Loureiro. Coming to the last 21 minutes of racing here, and we still have 5 drivers on grid with pit stops needing to be done. So this is going to be an interesting one coming towards the end of this race. Keep an eye out for it. The virtual grandstand is also everybody still enjoying themselves there, watching their supporting teams send it around track here for the Zolder Circuit race here for round 4. Like we mentioned earlier, round 5, we do head to the Nürburgring in Germany, so not too far of a travel from Belgium to Germany, all still in the European continent, which is going to be a very interesting race. Nürburgring, very, very good race, very, very good track. It's good for almost every car because it's got a good balance of straights and a good balance of turns. And then after Nürburgring, we head completely different continent to North America, and we head to Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, which is going to be an awesome race to watch. Also a track that many are unfamiliar with because it's not a track that is often raced. We actually haven't seen it for quite a long time here for the RaceFace.Pro. We do often see Laguna Seca, which is also in America, but not Circuit of the Americas. So that's also a good one to definitely see coming into the final couple of seasons here. But this is still looking good though. Sean Lerrero is trying to hold off from Jason Landsberg, who's now 2 seconds. Oh, and that looks like Yaku Nordia completely ramping over the end chicane curb of the final corner there. Almost actually making contact with the likes of Jason Landsberg if he were to dive a little bit stronger and harder. But currently Ron van der Walt still leading this race. We're still waiting adamantly. When is anybody going to pitch here? We've got a 5-car train of McLarens mixed with Lamborghinis and the likes of BMWs of Martin Raudenbach, and all of them needing to complete one more pit stop before the end of this race. So it's all going to come down to when this pit stop's going to come in, because that is going to play very keenly on who is going to take the podium of this race. We've got Herman Percival, who is our contender and our provisional pole from where he started this race in, but Gianre Berta, who pulled a massive undercut, is just behind him, and Gerrit Pretorius as well is not far from him either. The two of them are fighting absolutely neck to neck here with 18 minutes left of racing, and Gerrit Pretorius could potentially actually be taking an overtake opportunity on Gianre Berta in the next coming laps. He seems to have a little bit faster lap times, with Gianre Berta's last being a 1:29.3 and a 1:29.5. Now the next lap, 1:29.7 from Gianre Berta, 1:28.675 from Gerrit Pretorius. So a good almost 6/10 faster in the previous lap for Gerrit Pretorius. Gianre Berta is really starting to feel the pressure now in the green Porsche 992 from the Ferrari Black 64 behind him. The 296 is using the strengths of being the meta car, having much better top speed and acceleration compared to the Porsche. The Porsche having better brakes and also really good acceleration. And it's a battle of mid-engine versus rear engine right now. I believe the only rear engine car on grid currently is indeed Gianre Berta in the Porsche 992. And it's very interesting actually. The Porsche is the only car manufacturer in this game with rear engine cars. The rest of the cars all being mid-engine as well as front engine cars. And obviously that's where it differentiates as to how these cars handle. The Honda almost feels like a rear engine car, but it is not. It is also a mid-engine vehicle. But compared to the Porsche, not too much of a comparison between the two. Both also relatively hard to drive. Currently, Gerrit Pretorius is trying to find as much gap as he can here. Looking all over, almost swings late on the inside line. But Gianre Berta is going defensive, trying to find as much track as he can to keep the driver behind him. But it's now going to be side to side going into turn 1. Gianre Berta, oh, the switchback almost coming in play. Gianre Berta does have to give the space. He can't just exactly push him off track, but thankfully enough space between the two. Gianre Berta makes the corner perfectly, and so does Gerrit Pretorius. Remember, Gerrit does have left side vehicle damage from when he came out the pit lane and made contact with another McLaren driver, just coming out of the pit lane as the driver was coming into the bend of the corner, and both of them collided, unfortunately. So a little bit more drag on that Ferrari compared to the Porsche, but the Porsche still probably not stronger than the Ferrari, having slightly better performance overall. So now it all comes down to driver skill, driver awareness, and driver talent with 16 minutes left of racing here. No pit stops left for either of these drivers. They cannot risk to cause more damage or potentially take themselves out and risk absolutely ruining those tires with 15 minutes left of racing. not only will they lose the position here that they're fighting for, they might lose it to other people behind. Cara Pretorius scaring January Buerta, almost making a late dive up on the inside, and Sean Loureiro is going to slowly begin to catch up from these two fighting each other. And it is absolute back and forth between these two. They're currently the only two fighting out on track. Everybody else is very distant from each other in terms of track position. That's why we're sticking on them, because once again, it's too wide into turn one. Cara Pretorius has got the outside lane. Will he pull for the switchback? He doesn't. He keeps the car behind. Going to try and swing it around to carry more speed around the corner, and unfortunately cannot do it. The Porsche having better rotation and better acceleration. This is where the Porsche shines in the fast corners. The Ferrari just trying to keep up with him. Will have the better top speed straight, but not the better immediate fast corner reaction pace. And as you can see, the Porsche just holding on for absolute dear life right now, just trying to make everything count that it possibly can. Both of the cars having to take cautiously over the first chicane. They cannot ramp those curves like any of the front engine cars can. They have to be cautious as to how they approach the corner and how they exit the corner. But once again, Cara Pretorius will be having a tiny bit of a straight coming up where the Ferrari will have slight advantage. Will he be able to dive on the inside, right on the back now of Jean-Ray Buerta? Will it be an inside dive for him? Will it be an outside dive? Will he stay? Jean-Ray Buerta goes defensive, and this is extremely good racing from both of them, giving each other space. Jean-Ray Buerta holds the inside line for the next corner. Actually, no, he doesn't. Cara Pretorius holds it. Now the switchback. Jean-Ray Buerta holds it for the next corner. And now Cara Pretorius looking to dive. Gets blocked off, though. And, unfortunately, Jean-Ray Buerta catches the grass and loses all of his momentum and loses out to Cara Pretorius. They were battling so well. And now, unfortunately, Jean-Ray Buerta has lost the position due to touching the grass, but he is not out of this fight just yet. He's still just on the backside of Cara Pretorius, and now he can play the pressure game just like Cara Pretorius has been playing for the past 4 laps, pushing on the back of that Ferrari until a mistake is forced, just like we saw with Jean-Ray Buerta going onto the grass in the final chicane. This could happen now to the Ferrari, but the Ferrari will have the better top speed. The Porsche is going to have to use its areas of advantage to its absolute max potential in order to stay with this Ferrari. You can see they're jumping the curb there for Jean-Ray Buerta, just trying to find anywhere where you can stay with the car ahead of him, and will have faster top speed, but the Porsche will have better rotation speed and will stick with him through some of the faster corners. This has been an absolute fight for the past couple of laps, and it's been a great one for entertaining the crowd. But with 12.5 or so minutes left of racing here, we're still wondering, and I no longer need to wonder, because there we go. Anton Lammers has broken it and has pulled into the pit lane to serve his pit stop. 4 drivers now left to serve that pit stop. Ron van der Walt is still out with 8.5 seconds of gap between him and his teammate, who is still just trying to chase onto the back of him. Let's jump back on with Cara Pretorius and Jean-Ray Buerta. They are still relatively on with each other, but unfortunately, Jean-Ray has lost out almost a second already from the Ferrari driver, just putting immense amount of pressure. But now a mistake actually from Cara Pretorius causes him to go slightly wider, and he has given a little bit more time back to Jean-Ray Buerta, who may potentially be able to recover this if he drives his absolute heart out here for the next couple of corners. Now still pushing on as hard as he can, though. Herman Percival is just actually, Anton Lammers has come out in front of the likes of Jean-Ray Buerta and the likes of Sean Loureiro, as well as Cara Pretorius. And Herman Percival, no, he didn't, sorry, apologies about that. Anton Lammers there, he drops down to 10th position now. So it is still indeed Cara Pretorius in second provisionally. There we go, 2 pit stops coming in for both Pandassi drivers, calling the shot. Ron van der Walt and Jean Retoid, where will they come out? Will they lose the position to Herman Percival? They're in the pit lane now. Herman Percival now on the back straight. This is going to be an interesting one to watch. There's Herman Percival. There's Ron van der Walt at the end of the pit lane. It's a splash and dash. He's already out of the pit lane. Here comes Herman Percival on the back straight. This is going to be close. Out of the pit lane, rotating around the long edge. Where's Herman Percival? Just coming around the first corner, and he's actually been overcut by Ron van der Walt, who's out of the pit lane and now under pressure from the likes of, I believe, one of the back markers. That looks like the number 18, and not too sure who that is right now, but they are fighting to the absolute hard content. That's actually the number 7. That is Jean Mostert, who's just come out behind Ron van der Walt, and there's Herman Percival just a little bit further behind, so he has lost first to the undercut. So incredible job there, Ron van der Walt, for managing to keep that car behind him. And where did his teammate land up? Jean de Toit slotting in right in between them, just in front of Gerard Pretorius and Jean-Ray Buerta, who are still fighting the absolute daylights out of each other. So incredible strategies being pulled here with 10 minutes left to go. That's the thing with racing. You don't know it's over until the end of the race. We thought Herman Percival had this in the bag for provisional pole until Ron van der Walt came and absolutely... No! Herman Percival has spun his car around, and that has lost his chances absolutely from catching up to the likes of Ron van der Walt. And now he's completely lost out. He's even about to lose out to Jean-Ray Buerta, who's now on the backside of him, already diving up on the inside for the position. And he's going to be fighting him into the final corner over here. That has been a really unfortunate spin. Oh, and contact actually between the two, getting a little bit rowdy with each other. So now provisional pole is up to Ron van der Walt and Jean de Toit. The two Pandasli drivers could potentially be scoring major here for their team come the end of the 9 minutes. And still 2 drivers left to go that need to serve their pit stops. Conrad Martin and Martin Ratenbach. So the 2 Martins, incredible job from everybody so far. I was not expecting this at all. I don't think Herman Percival was expecting this at all either. To lose out completely from one bad spin after the hairpin. Oh, drive-through penalty for Rowan van der Walt. My goodness, it just gets better and better. Ron van der Walt, our provisional pole leader, gets a drive-through penalty and has just ruined his chances of finishing this race first. He's just thrown it all away by pushing the car to the absolute limit, and he has not been rewarded for it. He's been punished for not obeying track limits, and as you can see, he's furious. My goodness, what on earth happened there? Ron van der Walt not happy at all about that, sends it into the pit lane, brakes far too late for the pit wall, and clobbers into the pit wall barrier. That is not going to be good for him. He's definitely going to have some form of suspension damage after that. And now carrying damage, Ron van der Walt has just ruined his race. That is an absolutely incredible change-up. Jean-Ray de Toit will now lead this race provisionally after Martin Rodenbach and Conrad Martin come in for pit stops. And Gerard Pretorius in 5th for the Black 64 will now go to 4th. Ron van der Walt speeds into the pit lane like we saw and gets a stop-go 30-second penalty. What on earth has happened to Ron van der Walt? From first to the absolute best undercut and has completely lost out. Does he have suspension damage? It doesn't look like he does. I'm watching on the dashboard on the inside cockpit camera to see if he has to hold that steering wheel sideways. Kind of does look like he's holding it sideways. Trying to... Let's check now when he goes on the straight again. No, it looks slightly like he is holding the wheel a little bit sideways, but I don't think it's major. It might be very minor suspension damage from absolutely clobbering the wall. But Ron van der Walt, terrible scenes here in the last couple of minutes of racing here. This is not what he wanted. This is not what he expected coming into this race. And this is unfortunately the card he has been dealt with. Martin Rodenbach stays out. Conrad Martin pulls in to serve his final pit stop. This is going to be an interesting final few laps of this race. Jean de Toit is leading, and just 3 seconds behind is Gerard Pretorius. Herman Percival has gotten past Jean-Ray Buerta once more after fighting with him. So this could potentially still be top 3 here for Herman Percival. Conrad Martin comes out in 8th position after finishing his final pit stop. So Martin Rodenbach will also come out around 8th or 9th. Let's just double confirm. Where did Anton Lammers come out? Yep, he did indeed come out in 8th, like we mentioned. Conrad Martin is who I'm looking for, though. So he's obviously in 6th, but he's actually in 9th. So he came out behind his teammate there, which is incredibly unfortunate. But here comes Ron van der Walt to serve that drive-through that he did. Not drive-through, sorry, the stop-go 30-second penalty that he did not expect would be coming tonight. Drive-through, speeding into the pit lane, clobbering the pit wall barrier for carrying too much speed, and getting a stop-go 30-second penalty. That is literally everything that can go wrong in a race scenario, especially with 10 minutes left to go and holding provisional pole. That is not going to be a happy camper at all come the end of this race. Super unfortunate from Ron van der Walt. Will Martin Rodenbach pull in, though, for a pit stop? He has already started the next lap. No pit stop. Almost 50 laps of racing here and 5 minutes left to go. When is he going to pull in to get that pit stop done and dusted? Zanre Berta is behind him, but it is quite a margin of a gap between the two. Obviously, one still have a full pit stop ahead, and Cara Pretorius down in 3rd position is still just trying to make up time. Herman Percival, after that spin, he would have been 2nd, chasing down 1st right now. Actually, no, he would be 1st. Herman Percival would be 1st because he got overtaken by Jean-René du Toit after he spun. So if he didn't spin, Herman Percival would be holding pole here tonight for Zolder at the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship for Season 21, Round 4. But unfortunately, from one hairpin mistake, that has taken him out the running for 1st. But he will still be in the running here for 3rd position if he can keep it all together. And unfortunately, Gian Roberta will be booted down to 4th. Still an incredible finishing position, coming across in the top 5. But I'm assuming he really wanted to try and push for slightly higher. But with doing that undercut strategy, it can either go extremely well or it can't. It depends on how chaotic the grid is. And tonight, it seriously wasn't too chaotic. It was all self-inflicted damage, with people getting drive-throughs and stop-goes from not obeying pit lane law. Instead of it being conflict in terms of crashes and contact, it's been self-inflicted penalties. So super unfortunate to see. But with 3 minutes left of racing, we've got a yellow flag. Who's that off the track? Gets one of the McLarens. That might potentially... That is the number 7, so that's Jean Mostert. Once again, unfortunately losing the car. Let's go back 30 seconds and have a look. So chasing down on the back straight. It looks like he's got the likes of Ron van der Walt behind him. Just trying to push on behind. Coming into first turn. Gets dived on the inside. Tries to turn and gets tapped off track, unfortunately. So thankfully out of the way. Doesn't get clobbered again by another car. But not going to be happy about that one. Getting taken out after trying to give as much space as possible. And now sitting a little bit further back down. Thankfully not too high up in any case. But not going to be happy with that one. 2 minutes left to go of racing. Martin Rodenbach, will he pull into the pit lane? No, he doesn't. This is going to be a last lap pit stop for Martin Rodenbach, because we've got 2.5 minutes left, which means he's going to have just about a minute left of racing when he comes across for the last time. He's definitely going to have to serve next lap. If he doesn't serve next lap, he will not make it by the end of this race, and he will be awarded a 160-second time penalty for not completing his mandatory pit stops. That's definitely something you don't want. We've seen it last season, in season 20, with Daniel Rowe and Moaf Musa at Monza, where they both completely forgot that the pit window was the thing, and they did not pit, and both received heavy penalties, 160 seconds added to their race time, and that completely ruined any chances of a podium finish. But Martin Rodenbach will either play this incredibly smart with a very last minute dive into the pit, a very last minute splash and dash to see where he would end up. He would still unfortunately not make the top 3 here, but he could still make the top 10 if this pit stop was done well enough and if he was setting consistent lap times. Last lap time 1:29.9, and last lap time from the likes of Cara Pretorius 1:29.1. Last lap time from Jean de Toit is a 1:30. So Jean de Toit, with 1 minute left to go, could potentially start to feel pressure from Cara Pretorius, who is chasing down on him, but so is Herman Percival. all of them 3-stack, chasing each other down onto the final lap. This could be hectic. But here comes Martin Rodenbach pulling into the pit lane to serve his final pit stop of the day. And he will definitely be degraded to quite a couple of positions down. But there we go. Final announcement has been called. Leader is on final lap. Has Jean-René du Toit lost out to Gerard Pretorius? Is that Gerard Pretorius ahead? No, that's Gerard. Sorry, those two Ferraris look exactly the same. The one pulling off to the side and the one just overtaking. But now Jean-René du Toit is currently your race leader. But he does have pressure from behind. He only has to hold it for one more lap. Then he can officially call himself the winner of the Zolder Grand Prix race for round 4 at the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship for season 21. That could be an incredible feat to call. The Lamborghini coming across to finish it in first. Gerard Pretorius is out for blood though, and Herman Percival is out for even more because he wants redemption from the mistake he made. Oh, and loads of jumping coming from that Honda. You can see actually gained a lot of time from that, managing to keep the car controlled. He's now right on the backside of Gerard Pretorius coming into the final corners here. This could potentially be an overtake. I don't think he's going to risk it though. He could potentially though. If Gerard Pretorius, you can see, my goodness, that Honda's pushing. Every corner, the back wheel is slipping out. He is pushing that car to its absolute limits to try and find the space to perform an overtake, but I don't think it's going to be enough for the Honda NSX driver, as Gerard Pretorius is just managing to keep ahead for the final time, and I don't think they're going to catch up to Jean-René du Toit, sorry, who still will stay into first position coming into the final few corners. He's coming across the line, the checkered flag's being waved. Jean-René du Toit takes first position, followed by Gerard Pretorius, Herman Percival right behind him. Sean Loureiro will finish in 5th. Jean-René du Toit finishes in 4th. Incredible job from him. Sean Loureiro comes across in 5th. Landsberg in 6th. Martin Rodenbach in 7th after his last minute pit stop. Anton Lammers in 8th position, followed by Conrad Martin and Ulrich de Jager in 9th. Lawrence Badenhorst in 10th. 11th is Johan Verviers. 13th, Neil Swartz, followed by Rob van der Heever and Alvin Prim, who is still chasing it around track over there. Incredible job from everybody. Jonathan Chisholm a little bit further down in 21st as he still pursues around track. But it has been a masterclass of a race here for the final time of Zolder. And then we move to round 5 next week at Nürburgring. Wow, oh wow, it has been an incredible race. Thank you to everybody who joined us here on the virtual grandstand. It has been a phenomenal one of note. But everybody's still coming around to finish their final laps. And everybody beginning to disconnect from the server, so we won't get accurate timings as to when people finish. But you can see the checker flag is being waved to allow people to cross that finish line. Alvin Prim still coming across. And that is going to call for our final driver to come across the line for tonight's race. Super interesting. Oh, that was a McLaren who went straight into the wall. I don't know if we caught that on the stream, but that was quite funny. But absolutely incredible race that we just witnessed. And my goodness, these guys know how to put pressure upon pressure from each other. Non-stop action, especially towards the end there, from predicting people to perform insane overcuts and then getting awarded the absolute worst hand, and unfortunately just not coming out with what they want to. And that's unfortunately what we saw now. But it has been a great night of racing here, and definitely one to look out for the next upcoming weeks. Like we mentioned, next week we do head to the next race at Nürburgring, which is a very cool race to watch. But we do have a couple of drivers in our interview room for the race, so let's head on to our 3rd place finisher. And actually just waiting here because I don't think we are. 3rd place finisher is indeed the one, the only, who unfortunately got himself a bit of a tussle in the chicane, in the hairpin, losing the Honda, almost coming across for another pole position twice tonight, almost coming across for another pole, but managing to scrape it up and still come across for the podium position. The one and only Herman Percival, congratulations once again, another podium finish here at RaceFace.Pro.
Yeah, that was brutal. I started on my qualifying tires, So that was already off the bat. I was on
Yeah,
worn
a
tires.
little bit worn.
Yeah, which is why I only did my fastest lap after I pitted, and then that happened. I don't know what happened. I just couldn't stop the car there for some reason.
Well, that
And
is
then yeah, spun twice there. And you know the Honda, as soon as it spins, it just stalls, and then sitting there for half an hour trying to start the car again. But yeah,
that is super unfortunate. Yeah, I mean we unfortunately watched it here on the live stream because we know that if that spin didn't happen, you would be in contention for first position of finishing tonight. So I'm really unfortunate to see that. But like we mentioned, you still scraped it across. You finished off in first, in a podium position, which is definitely what you still wanted. How are you feeling? We go to Nürburgring next week. You're in the Honda, the only Pro-Am driver in the Honda, so you have no one to outsource to. How are you feeling next week for the Nürburgring?
I have no idea. I was coming in blind to Zolder, so I'm just going to do the same thing I did here, which was sit here all week long, and I probably did like 1,000 laps.
So it's just going to be practice, practice, practice for the next race.
I did 31 hours on this track this week.
That is absolutely crazy. Well, it shows that practice pays off because even after spinning, you still clutched up and pulled through a podium. So incredible performance there. But just before I let you off, I'm just going to give you the microphone to mention anything that is currently on your mind, anybody who assisted you with tonight's race, anybody you want to mention, and have at it.
All right. Pretty much Dean, who's in the Pro, we pretty much sat here trying to work out how we could, you know, just ramp over the chicane. So the Honda felt really good in that sector, and then the bottoming out into second chicane. So luckily I think I only had one track cut the whole race, which was pretty good. And then, yeah, next race, I guess I'll just try and make it more stiffer in the front so I can actually have more stopping power. And that's about it.
Well, then that's exactly what's going to happen next time. But like we know, next week is Nürburgring. It's going to be an interesting one to see. Hopefully, we see you back in the room over here. But we're not going to keep you any longer for tonight. Have an awesome night of celebrations.
You so much.
You did still pull it in for a podium. So you got to be super chuffed about that.
Yeah.
Definitely. But have a great night, and we'll see you next week.
You too, brother. Bye.
So that was our third place finisher here for tonight at Zolder. Moving on, who came across to finish it off in second position after almost giving the commentator over here a heart attack when coming out of the pit lane and almost being absolutely knocked off his rails by another car exiting the pit lane, is Gerard Pretorius, who still managed to pull off in second position. How are you feeling after that race?
Thanks. It was a close call. I really enjoyed it. So strategy work, I think, like I mentioned in the lobby, a lot of people couldn't run this race if they could give it clean. But yeah, unfortunately, I had not major incidents except the one outside the pit exit. So otherwise, really enjoyable.
Yeah, what happened at the pit exit there? Was it a conceding issue, or did the driver not see you? Did you not see the driver?
I think it's a bit of both. I kept my line, committed to the inside corner, and I think we need to, in sort of a blind spot when you come around the corner, and you don't really pick it up until the last moment. So I think I was in that position before, so I know the feeling.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, thankfully, like we saw on stream, you didn't lose the car. That is what everybody was hoping not to happen, because that impact was quite hard. We saw quite a couple of scratch marks on the side of that Ferrari, but thankfully you managed to keep it controlled. Next week, we head to Nürburgring in Germany. So obviously the Ferrari 296, you do have quite a lot of people around grid who drive the car, so you do have some outsourcing assistance. How are you feeling for next week at Nürburgring?
Take it 1 week at a time, see how the weather looks like, and just keep my head down and hope for the best.
Absolutely. I mean, that's always the best mentality to go for. 1 week at a time, not to overthink it. But you have done an incredible job here tonight. You performed a great strategy. It worked well, and finishing off strong on a podium position. I'm not going to keep you anymore for tonight. I am going to give you the mic, though, to mention anybody who potentially helped you with tonight's race, or anybody who we would like to just mention and have at it.
I just say thanks for my teammates. We keep a nice group, keeping us either on the toes and keeping it fun, at least, so I enjoy it.
Absolutely incredible. Well, props to the team back at home for GSRT. You've done an incredible job for finishing off in second. I'm sure there's going to be a whole room for celebrations tonight. Absolutely incredible job once again. We'll see you next week for the Nürburgring.
Thanks for RaceFace yourself for commentary.
Absolutely no stress at all. And without further ado, pulling in for our final interview of the night, the man who didn't think he'd be finishing in first position, but due to just how racing works and his teammate getting an unfortunate hand of cards, Jean-Rode de Toit comes across in first position tonight at Zolder. How are you feeling?
Hi Tristan. That race was tiring. This track was not meant for the Lamborghini. I'm really surprised where I ended up, and it's quite unfortunate for my teammates that McLaren had insane pace, but I knew I just had to keep it clean and I could make it to the end.
Well, I mean, you did exactly that. You kept it clean, and I mean, in moments of pure desperation, things happen. And I mean, like I mentioned, you were not expecting a pole position finish tonight, but things happen in racing, and you managed to pull through in first position. You weren't expecting that at all, am I right?
Yeah, no, not at all. In practice, this Lamborghini can't go over that first chicane. I saw other cars jump that chicane and I could not do it at all. So I lost like half a second in that chicane. So I was really surprised where I ended up in quali and the race.
Yeah, like we were mentioning across the stream, the front engine cars could absolutely eat the chicane curbs with a little bit more stability. I can imagine with the Lamborghini being quite a low down mid engine, it was a little bit of a struggle. But next week we do head to a little bit more appropriate track, and I think it's a good, well-rounded track for all cars. We head to Nürburgring. How are you feeling at Nürburgring next week in the Lamborghini?
It'll be my first time driving with a Lambo, so hopefully the track suits the car. But I'm excited to get some good podiums again.
Absolutely incredible. That's good confidence to keep. We hope to see you back in this room next week in Nürburgring. But you've done an incredible job tonight. I'm just going to leave the floor to you to mention anybody who assisted you tonight, anybody from your team, any of your sponsors, and you may have at it.
Yeah, no, thanks to Pandacity, the entire crew. They really helped me throughout the week while I struggled on this track. And yeah, thanks to the teammates in the race, we really had some good communication and didn't unnecessarily put too much pressure on each other. So a big thanks to them, and yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Well, it's been a phenomenal night. You've come across the line in first position, and we cannot wait to see what you can do next week at the Nürburgring. Have a fantastic night of celebrations with the team, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Tristan. Cheers.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, and that is officially the end of our interviews here for our top 3. It's been an incredible night of hardcore racing. Lots of unpredictable moments coming in. In the final 10 minutes, Ron van der Walt, our provisional pole, getting slammed with the drive-through, speeding into the pit lane, clobbering his car against the barrier, and getting a stop-go 30-second time penalty, all in the frame of 2 minutes. Took him out completely from provisional poles. Jean-Rode de Toit moved up to first. The likes of Henry Percival moved up to third, and Gerard Pretorius up into second. So everybody getting some unexpected upshifts throughout the night. But that's how racing goes. Sometimes things can happen. You have to be prepared for it. You have to be prepared to push that car the exact same you did on lap 1 as you did on lap 50. Thank you so much for watching tonight. That's been an absolute pleasure commentating for all of you guys here for the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship Season 21 Race 4 at Zolder. Please remember, guys, we head to Nürburgring next week, round 5 of the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship. That's on Wednesday and Thursday night, so make sure you keep tuned for that. And if you do enjoy the content, please remember to hit a like and leave a like, and also hit that subscribe button if you are interested in further content from RaceFace.Pro. Without further ado, it's been an absolute pleasure commentating tonight, and like we always say, a good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening, and good night, everyone. Have an absolutely amazing day.